Hey everyone, it's Tony.
It's David.
And we're two dudes talking Disney. How you doing?
Better than the last show we recorded.
Yeah, for those who might not remember, Dave was a little down on Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. But we're going to give him some happy thoughts today.
Yes.
Dave and his family recently were in Disney World, which it's funny because we can pretty much say this like every other month.
Yeah, for the two of us, especially between the two of us. And something I talked to Tony about, I think that, our trip report shows are good because we could talk the good, the bad of things that we saw on our recent trips. So, we figure we'll kind of start with this one.
All right, so let's jump into this. So, you guys were there at the beginning of August.
Yep.
You actually drove down.
Yeah. So it was a very long vacation season for the Leonard family. We actually just returned from Maine. Mm-hmm. From the cottages that we ran on a lake in Maine, which is the Westwood Cottages.
All right.
I'll throw a shout out to them because it is as much as I am one of the dudes talking Disney. If there was a two dudes talking Bridgeton, Maine, I would be about that too. So,
all right. So wait, Westwood Cottages 2-night experience, $4,000?
Yes, $4,000. No, not even close. But we did drive, so we made the decision to drive. Airfare, kind of a last minute trip. Airfare was a little bit expensive. But we decided to drive with a little bit of adventure. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who are familiar with where Tony and I live up here in the horrible state of Connecticut, with nothing good to do, usually it's 95, straight down to Florida. And that brings you through New York, through Baltimore, through D.C., through Richmond. And it is a lot of pavement and a lot of traffic. This time, on the advice of Pigeon, the wise elder, and terrible volleyball player. Is that true?
I know he's a good
volleyball player. Okay, yeah.
Wink, wink.
We decided to do the Chesapeake Bay Bridge.
Okay.
So a little bit different change of scenery. The nice thing is you from the northeast right over the Delaware Memorial Bridge, you cut off the 95 route, and it alleviates the major cities. Mm-hmm. So you don't go through Baltimore, through Washington, around Richmond, like you're a little bit more of it's highway.
It's rural.
Yeah, it's highway, like
and chicken farms.
Chicken farm, and then you go over this giant bridge. But it was pretty neat. We hit the bridge kind of right at sunset, a little bit later than I wanted to. But it's pretty neat. And the other thing I like about it is for as long of a bridge as it is, it's not like toweringly high.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's like 17 miles, right?
Yeah. But it's not like high off the ground where you're like, holy crap. The white knuckle part of it is when you go under the tunnel portions, it is a 2-lane road with nothing in between you.
Right.
So that was a little bit, I was not ready for that. But we spent the first night in Emporia, Virginia, which is the last city in Virginia. And then we woke up the next morning and made the trek to the greatest tourist trap in the history of mankind. And for those of you who don't know, that is south of the border in Dillon, South Carolina. It's one of the. Would you agree? It's probably one of the last roadside attractions, original roadside attractions out there.
In this area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like if you go out. I'm sure if you take Route 66, through the Southwest in America, you're going to see more of that type of stuff. But south of the border is an old school a tourist trap, for lack of a better term,
side of the road attraction, and it has 20 different buildings. There's There's different stores, different hotels, different, there's a mini golf, there's an arcade, there's go-karts, there's a campground.
There's the aquarium, there's fireworks.
It's like, everything. And, there's probably one of the world's largest, my wife affectionately refers to crap stores in the country. I mean, it sells back scratchers and magnets and roadside stuff. And one of the other highlights of south of the border, too, is the billboards. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about driving to Florida, you'll start seeing the billboards, even though it's in South Carolina on the North-South Carolina border. You'll start seeing the billboards in Virginia.
Right.
You're 300 miles away from south of the border. And so quick stop at south of the border.
Did you go to the top of the sombrero?
We did not go to the top of the sombrero.
Oh, you're missing out, my friend.
We were missing out
next time.
It was Amelia's first time. She didn't really know what to make of it. We did buy a back scratcher, some giant mermaids that you put in water, some of the world's largest pencils, a bottle opener, an assortment of south of the border merch. We spent more money in south of the border than I'd like to freely admit. But,
all right.
But that was it. Back in the car, and our next stop was the beautiful city of Savannah, Georgia. And our first stop in Savannah was a ice cream shop called Leopold's, which if you're in the Savannah area, I guess it's like a Savannah institution. Old-fashioned soda jerks were there. Okay. So like when you ordered a cherry soda, they made you the soda, which I thought was really cool. I did the classic ice cream hot fudge sundae. The girls had some of the homemade sundae. It was very good. It was neat. It was a great way to break up the trip. We then hit the Savannah Riverwalk for a little while. We walked around, and we spent the night in the Savannah area. Nice area.
Very nice area. Yeah. Home of the founder of the Girl Scouts. Girl Scouts are founded there. That's where the Forrest Gump.
Yes, the Forrest Gump benches.
Goes to Jenny's house there.
It's the home of the Savannah Bananas, minor league baseball team. So I'm a fan of them. One of the more interesting things, too, about Leopold's is, and I feel bad for not doing the full research and giving you some, but Leopold's was started by a group of 3 brothers, and one of the 3 brothers is a very, very powerful Hollywood person, producer. And one of the neat things about being in Leopold's is any of the movies they shot in Savannah, there's a lot of memorabilia. So, Sum of All Fears with Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman. There was a lot of, even some of the Marvel movies, memorabilia and noticing that they were involved in those. So that's kind of neat, tie it into a little bit of Hollywood action.
Right.
But yeah, Savannah was stopped too. I will say, I don't know the name of it, but we went to this store. It was kind of like where we parked, and it was a retro toy store
I've been in there.
From the 80s. And I mean, they had every G.I. Joe, every Ninja Turtle. It was really nostalgic for me. And if Katie wasn't with me,
you would have dropped more money than you dropped at south of the border.
So from there, our next morning drive was a short one, about 4.5 hours from Savannah to Disney, where we checked in to the Polynesian Village Resort.
Pretty much Savannah to Jacksonville.
Yes.
Bang a right to Central Florida.
So we stayed in, obviously DVC side of the Polynesian. We had a great time at the Polynesian. Our room was excellent, located on the first floor. We had our little terrace out there, not facing the park. Highlight right off the bat, the first day was a pool day, which I know, Tony, you were a big fan of pool days.
I am.
And while we were in line for the pool, I made some small talk with some of the staff who were gracious enough to give me a hookup, and I got into Trader Sam's as the first guest of the day.
Nice.
So went to Trader Sam's. I had a Nautilus.
Now, Trader Sam's just recently reopened.
Correct. Recently, very recently, within a few weeks. And for those of you who are not familiar with Trader Sam's, it is a tiki bar located in the Polynesian, and it is interactive, I would say. The restaurant comes to life when you order drinks. Things move, benches move. The wait staff adds to it, so it was a very good, enjoyable time. Amelia loved it.
A little bit in the spirit of the old Adventurers Club, if you've ever been to Pleasure Island.
Yeah, and there's even some
artifacts
from the Adventurers Club.
Right.
So, first day we did the monorail tour. Hit the monorail resorts. Why not? And then for dinner we did Ohana's. It's the modified Ohana's because of the pandemic. So you didn't have the normal menu, if you will. The shrimp is now a shrimp casserole. There was no grilled chicken. You still had the beef that came out. So a little bit of a different menu, but still nothing horrifically wrong that you would write.
You got the noodles.
And you got the noodles, which is the most important. So that was kind of day one. It was very nice to stay at the Polynesian again. We haven't stayed there since 2015. Okay. I'm sorry, 2018, my 40th birthday was the last time we stayed there.
All right. Now, what did you think of the construction going on around the resort?
At the point when we were there, the biggest construction issue was the monorail station in the front of the Grand Ceremonial House was closed. So I hate to bring up like first world problems, but you had to walk to the Ticket and Transportation Center to board the monorail. And I really didn't have a problem with that, especially because of where the DVC rooms are. We're kind of actually, it's shorter.
It's closer, right.
But my thing was, like, you got over the Ticket and Transportation Center, and you had to walk completely across the Ticket and Transportation Center and then get in line with everybody coming in
for the security check
from the Magic Kingdom parking lot. And and again, first world problems. I would have thought that they would have had a separate entrance right next to the Polynesian, but you had to wait. It was no big deal. I mean, something I would have thought. And the same thing with the boats. So your other option to the Magic Kingdom now was by boat. And the Polynesian usually has the smaller of the Disney boats, and that's all they had running. And there were plenty of lines to take the boat. I would frequently see the boat load and leave passengers behind. I was just kind of surprised that Disney didn't bring in some of the bigger boats to accommodate the fact that the monorail was down.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, the construction really didn't affect us any other way than the monorail station being closed in the front of the resort. Again, we enjoyed that. The next day, we did some Ohanas for breakfast. So we had Obranas for dinner, Ohanas for breakfast, which was fine, no problems with that. It was hot. But, we do different things. And the way that we do our Disney trips are kind of a little bit unique because we go enough that there's nothing that we have to do.
Right.
So, for example, we woke up, we had to go to Epcot. And as you know, Epcot doesn't open until 11 nowadays, the pandemic rules. So we actually took a bus to Hollywood Studios to ride the gondola over to Epcot. Again, just a different way of doing something different, different thing to do. And we went into Hollywood Studios. We actually only went on Finding Nemo, and then we walked around for a brief bit and went back and went to the pool because it was just that hot. I mean, it's Florida in August. You expect it.
Now that's part of the benefit of being an annual pass holder.
Correct.
Because had you spent $120 on a ticket for that day.
Right. We pop in and out of the parks a lot.
Right.
And even, pre-pandemic days, we hop in and out of the parks a lot. And we went back to the pool. One of the nice things about the Polynesian is the main pool is located up against Captain Cook's, their quick service. So you can mobile order from your phone, walk in, get the food, and bring it right back to the pool, and you're walking 20 yards. Mm-hmm. And, we did that, spent the afternoon at the pool, and then we went into Hollywood Studios that night where we had a very short wait for Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway. It was only about 30 minutes.
That's not a bad wait.
There was about a 15-minute wait for Toy Story Midway Mania. And then coming out of Midway Mania, probably one of the biggest shocks of my life, there was a 25-minute wait for Slinky Dog.
Well, you get in that line.
Right, you get in that line. I mean, you get in that line 7 days a week.
Now let me ask you a question. So you're in the parks, and the day you guys left, the new mask rule went back into effect. So Disney has mandated that guests and cast members wear masks when inside or on Disney transportation.
Correct.
You've been there before when the masks.
Yeah,
I think you guys were there like just when the masks ended.
We were there the last day that you had. The last day of our May trip was the first day you could take your masks off.
Okay.
So
and then they knew you were coming back, so they wanted to get you masked up again.
And it was. I mean, I hate to say it, we're used to it. And it wasn't. One thing I did notice was that the cast members were not as strict and as quick to tell someone to put a mask on this time as they were the last time.
In May, right.
So we hit Slinky Dog and then closed Hollywood Studios, bus back. It was a good time. The next day for breakfast, we actually left property. There's a breakfast restaurant in and around Central Florida area called First Watch. For those of you traveling in that area, if you want to get out of the park for a little bit, I highly recommend it. The food there is tremendous. They have a plate called the $1 Million Bacon, which is bacon with the drizzled maple, some honey sriracha sauce, and it's just, an amazing experience. And that next day, it was supposed to rain most of the day. So we decided to look up something different to do. And we ended up buying tickets and heading out to Cape Canaveral to go to the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center, which I probably haven't done in 30 years.
Okay. And I know that was the morning you sent me a picture of a Disney Cruise Line
and
ship.
Just to shove it in Tony's face a little bit, we did divert on the way out there and drive by Port Canaveral to see the Disney ship. I forget which one it was. It was not the Dream. It was docked there, so we took a picture and sent it to Tony just to make him cry a little.
Thank you.
A little tear came out. Space Center was interesting. I haven't been there in a long time. I have recently been to the Smithsonian and the what I call the Smithsonian Annex, which is at Reagan Airport, the other building. And I think they actually had better stuff, if you will, at the Smithsonian. The hardest part about this trip was, I guess, and we joked, Tony and I, when I called him and told him this, that it's a typical government operation. It makes no sense. Like the buildings don't have like a good flow. It's not like go from building to building. It's kind of like here you are, good luck, figure out where you are. In a twist of fate, there was a launch scheduled that day, which we did not know until we were pulling in the parking lot. We had about 4 minutes of excitement before the screens all turned red and they announced that the launch was scrubbed due to a problem with the guidance system. So we missed the launch, but it did actually lead to a fortunate situation where something, if you're ever going there, you have to reserve a time to go out to the building. Years ago, the last time we were there, they put you on a bus and drove you around the facility.
Yep.
And now what they did was they built, so they have the visitor center and then the Apollo mission center. And to get there, you got to take the bus. So they built the Apollo center like in the middle of the base. And now you take the bus from the visitor center out there. You were supposed to book a time. But because of the launch, you couldn't go out there. But with the scrubbing of the launch, they opened up the Apollo Visitor Center, and it was just first come, first serve. So we got there early in the morning. We were able to get on walk around on a bus and head right there.
Nice.
So that was very interesting. A lot of neat artifacts. Astronaut Jim Lovell's flight suit that he actually wore during the Apollo 13 mission. The moon rocks were there. The astronaut van. You saw a lot of things like that. Of the Apollo. You could see the launch pads very well from there. To me, probably one of the most fascinating artifacts that they had there was they actually had the actual door from the Apollo 1 fire. And for those, Tony and I are kind of nerds, so we know what that is. And it's, 3 astronauts, Chafee, Grissom, and White were killed when the fire broke out in the capsule of Apollo 1 during a test. And the biggest problem was that they couldn't get out. The doors were not designed to rapidly exit. So, to see that was moving, especially because understanding no pun intended, the gravity of the fact that door, was the cause of death of 3 astronauts and changed the space program. Driving by the vehicle assembly building is cool. You kind of drive by it. The shuttle Atlantis was amazing, to see the shuttle, the way that they do the pre-show, and I don't want to give spoilers away, but
the pre-show is very Disney, very
Imagineering-ish. One of the highlights for that of Amelia was seeing the space toilet, and how you go to the bathroom in space. The memorial to the Challenger and to the Columbia cruise was very moving, very touching. They have artifacts from the disasters there. And we finished it up with the Astronaut Hall of Fame, a little visit going through there. I like to spend a few minutes with Deke Slayton, who is my favorite astronaut. So if those of you who are familiar with the space history and space program, you know that Deke was originally was he one of the Mercury 7?
He was.
Yeah, he was one of the Mercury 7. He was one of the first astronauts, and he was kind of the first astronaut to be grounded for a medical condition, which because of his knowledge and training, they transferred him to the position of being basically the boss of all the astronauts. So he picked the crews for the Apollo missions and the Mercury mission. So, the decision, he was making decisions, the writing lists, if you will, for Apollo 11, Apollo 12. He was deciding who was going to do a lot of that. And the reason he is a personal hero of mine is twofold. Obviously, he was an astronaut, which is just awesome, but he also suffered from AFib, which is what kept him originally from flying as an astronaut. And then with the advancement of medicine in the 60s and 70s, he was actually able, through medication, to control it, and actually was an Apollo astronaut. He finally did make it into space. So that was really cool. On the way back, we did see a pod of dolphins coming over the causeway under us, so that was pretty neat. But from there, we did a short jaunt back to the Magic Kingdom. To our surprise, we kind of walked around, but the biggest thing was the Halloween decorations had gone up.
That's right, because it's August. So what does that mean?
It's August, it's Halloween season.
Now let me ask you a question. You were supposed to get rain that day.
Yes.
Did you get rain?
No, of course not. Right?
Did you experience any of the heavy rains? There were pictures while you guys were down there.
No, we did not. We did, but we were at the hotel.
Okay, I was going to say of people in Tomorrowland.
That was the day before
8 inches
we got
of water.
There. Yeah.
All right.
So we arrived back at the Magic Kingdom, Thunder Mountain, 30-minute wait, which actually was only about a 15-minute wait. So we hit that twice.
Do you still find that wait times are exaggerated in the app?
Yes. We did find that.
And I think a lot of that is because they're not giving out the red card.
Correct. Like they used to,
the red time tracking card.
To accurately tell you. Next morning, we were up and early for our boarding group. I think the boarding groups are very easy. I think the problem is that people don't understand the process. And when I tell you it is finger on the trigger at 6:59:59,
right?
That's what it is. Yep. And it's, because you talk to a lot of people who are like, oh, I didn't get a boarding group. And like, okay, well, what did you do? Well, at 7 o'clock, I pulled out my phone.
No. If you're doing it at 7 o'clock, you're already too late.
You got to be finger on the trigger. So I was finger on the trigger. We were boarding group 14.
Nice.
So that was very exciting.
Did you hear what happened in California yesterday?
No, I did not.
Both Rise of the Resistance and Spider-Man Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, both boarding groups had availability well into the afternoon.
Really? Yeah. Interesting. Which led us to a nice morning at Hollywood Studios. We hit, Minnie and Mickey, Toy Story Mania again, Star Tours, obviously Rise of the Resistance. I had breakfast at one of my favorite little spots, which is Woody's Lunchbox.
Okay.
They have a tater tot bowl with a brisket, sausage, gravy, and eggs for breakfast. It's a very good, tasty treat. You
a fan of the Pop-Tarts there?
Oh, yes. I am a fan of the Pop-Tarts. You know what I'm actually a bigger fan of is the adult lemonade from Woody's Lunchbox, which is a vodka lemonade drink.
I have not had the adult lemonade.
Yeah. Then from there, we actually did the bold decision of going back to the room. And again, pool time. The Polynesian pool, we had a great time. We spent a lot of time at the pool. Back to Mama Melrose for dinner.
All right. Always a nice little experience.
Yes. The only thing I will say this time, we went to Mama Melrose in December. When we went, we had an incredible waitress. Great time. I felt very rushed this time. It was like the lady came out, like, what can I get for you? And it was like, okay, we were eating our salads and they were standing over us with our main plates. So that was the only downside there.
Now, let me ask you a question about Mama Melrose.
Hit me with it.
We've enjoyed Mama Melrose on multiple occasions. We're kind of fans. Why is it that Mama Melrose is an acceptable Italian restaurant for some, but if you say Tony's Town Square, people go, oh my God, I would never eat Italian in Disney World.
I think it's because Tony's is in the Magic Kingdom, and the Magic Kingdom has a stigma of not having good food.
Okay. See, even that's not true because Liberty Tree, the food is great. Liberty better with characters.
Amazing. So
better with characters.
I'm going to agree with you there. I'm actually going to get to that because our final night, our final day, as you know, and I Facebook Lived a lot of it. Which, by the way, what did you think of that shirt?
That was one of my favorite shirts ever.
Thank you. So they make a bikini in that same pattern, in case you're wondering.
Okay.
We went into the Magic Kingdom right when it opened. We rope dropped it, and we actually went on within an hour of the park being open. The Tomorrowland Speedway, the Buzz Lightyear, People Mover, the Barnstormer twice, the Teacups, Ariel.
Now, I hear a rumor that they let you stay on the Barnstormer without having to get in the queue again.
That is true. That is 100% true. And then Ariel, all within an hour. It was about 9:05 when I looked at my watch after that. We enjoyed some of the gray stuff and a hot cinnamon bun at Costan's.
How was the gray stuff?
The gray stuff was not as good as Diane Winnick's. I'll tell you that right. Diane makes a better gray stuff.
So Diane's is delicious.
Yes.
And the stuff in Disney is
But again, we kind of hit everything. We did a little bit of shopping. And we went actually, I forgot one attraction we did go on that I forgot to mention. That is the Swiss Family Treehouse. One of my absolute favorites. We then headed over to, we headed out of the park pretty early, so we decided to head over to Disney Springs. We did lunch at T-Rex.
All right.
Walked around the springs. And then we did in the afternoon. It's something I kind of laugh because I find these fun, and so does Amelia. She wanted to do it. We did Chef Remy's Ratatouille Hide and Squeak. So it costs $10, and you can pick up a map and a bunch of stickers. With
it's essentially a scavenger hunt.
Correct, around Epcot World Showcase. And we did that.
And what do you get as a prize?
You get an ice cream bowl, which was actually for $10. It's actually probably one of the best bargains you get in Disney. And basically what you do is you go around World Showcase, and in most of the countries, there is a small Remy with some type of cooking ingredient, and you have to match the stickers to the countries. And, we did the one in the spring with the bee. I forget his name. The bee.
The bee?
The bee from the Donald cartoons.
Yes, the
Buzz.
bee.
Is it Buzz? I don't know, but the bee. And
might be Buzzy.
And they're a good time. We enjoy those very much so. So then from there, we actually went back to the room and decided to head back into the Magic Kingdom. And at this point, we were...
Spike.
Yeah. At this point, we were a little bit hungry. And we decided that for dinner, we waitlisted the Liberty Tree Tavern. Now, we have not been to Liberty Tree since they got rid of the characters, which I believe the gentleman told us was 2013.
Was it that long? I thought it was longer than
that. Yeah. But we confessed that was it, and we actually had a surprisingly good meal there. I haven't eaten there in a while, so it was very good.
I will tell you that we tried to go back to Liberty Tree Tavern after the characters were removed, and it didn't have the same atmosphere.
Correct. But the food was good. We enjoyed it. We hit Thunder Mountain a few more times because that's Amelia's jam right now. And then the fireworks started. We watched them for a little bit on the. I call it. I don't know what you call it, but I call it the bridge in Frontierland, and it's the walkway path that goes from Frontierland to Liberty Square. We watched the fireworks from there. Had some popcorn, and then about halfway through the fireworks, Amelia for some reason wanted to go on Aladdin's Carpets. So we actually lucked out and watched the finale of the fireworks from Aladdin's Carpets, which is pretty neat because you're elevated, you got a good position, that kind of stuff. And that was pretty much it. We had some magical cast interactions. My daughter wears around her ankle a small dollar store scrunchy bracelet thing, and it came off in the pool coming down the water slide. And, to her, the world had ended. We were trying to calm her, and the lifeguard actually shut off the water slide, stopped everyone from coming down, and went in the water and got it. She saw it, and it was blue. It was light blue. So it's actually funny because we had that, and then the cast members that hooked us up with the Trader Sam's pass there to get us in there, I actually left a note to the general manager that I wanted to speak with them, and they called me while we were driving home. And I said, "Lady, I wanted to call and talk to you about a couple interactions we had with cast members." And when I told her that they were good interactions, and that's why I was calling her, she kind of laughed because she said that they don't ever get those.
Right.
And then the final highlight of the trip. And
now, let me just take a step back. So, Amelia, little ankle thing from the dollar store. Now, her other ankle, is that still the monitoring bracelet?
Yeah.
From her time in juvenile hall?
Yes. From her time on the bench at St. Mary's. The highlight of the trip, and what I'm going to call a life-changing experience, happened on the way home.
Okay.
We came across Buc-ee's, rest stop, gas station, I don't know what you call it. Apparently it's an institution in Texas, that area.
Like Alabama, Texas.
These are the first two in Florida. They're in Daytona. And they're I don't even know how to describe this store.
So let me say, when Dave called me, he told me, imagine buying a beach house and then you need some place to furnish it, buy all of your clothing and all of your goods, and it can all be accomplished in Buc-ee's.
It was a convenience store. It was a restaurant. It was a deli. It had jerky. It had clothing. It had Costa sunglasses, Yeti coolers, beach furniture, bathing suits, and then home furniture. It was the most amazing mix of stuff.
Now, did they have back scratchers?
They did. So apparently what they're known for is their beaver nuggets.
Okay.
And I mean, who doesn't like a good beaver nugget?
Exactly.
So we bought a package of those, and they're basically brown sugar, cornmeal, corn syrup, like a puff covered in everything bad for you. And we started eating them in the car on the way home, and I immediately regretted the decision to only buy one bag.
Oh.
Fortunately, thanks to Amazon, I had a box of them waiting here for me when I got home a day later. So that was amazing. But the Buc-ee's event was probably the highlight of the way home, if not the trip.
All right.
But,
Now, which route did you take on the
So coming home, we did a little bit of a detour because we actually... I have family in Greensboro, North Carolina area, so we drove from Florida to Greensboro the first night, and then the second night we all drove from Greensboro back to Connecticut.
How big of a caravan?
Just two vehicles.
Okay.
2 vehicles. But I would like to throw a shout out to the Greensboro Police Department because we do have a following.
We do.
Of Greensboro police officers who listen to us.
Excellent.
So
thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening. I would say thank you for your service. They're cops.
So if I get nailed for speeding through Greensboro,
we got to mention some names.
Two Dudes logo just on the car should be okay?
Yeah.
All right.
You know what happens when you when you fail the fire test, right?
You become a police officer?
A cop, right, yeah. So to the cops out there, don't get mad because I get a bed and you got to sit in a car. But that's it. It was a good trip. Again, the hotel was great. We really, I don't remember a trip in a while where we utilized a hotel. The weather was not cooperative, and I worried about if we were at the boardwalk, which is where we normally stay. The boardwalk doesn't have good quick service dining options, and I think it would have been a little bit of a struggle being at the boardwalk the whole time and especially with the pandemic. ESPN's not open.
Right.
It really...
Flying Fish isn't open.
Yeah, Flying Fish isn't open.
Still a lot of restaurants that aren't open.
It kind of would have been a little bit more difficult. And again, the staff was great. We had those great interactions. The bartender, Francisco, up at the Tambu Lounge is my favorite bartender in Walt Disney World Resort.
Now the staff was great. Did you find any issues with staffing on property while you're there?
Not that we noticed. Everybody seemed to be friendly. We didn't have any negative interactions with anybody.
How about in terms of? I think you mentioned you saw like some trash that was it was not up to Disney standards.
I don't remember that. Did I?
Was it you that said like trash cans were overflowing?
No, I saw people had said that. But we never saw it.
Okay.
So, and again, we the conversation with the general manager was fun because again, she said right off the bat, this doesn't happen. We don't get calls for good. We get calls for bad. And it's one thing when we go, I always try. If you go to Disney and if you have interactions with cast members that are pleasant, go to the front desk, tell them, and again, it really, it's a good way to give back.
And you can also recognize them, I think, on Twitter.
Yeah, the cast compliment site is down due to the pandemic.
Okay.
But, and it's funny because I know some of the hotels even have like a special form that you fill out and you can send in, but that was a lot of fun too. So that's pretty much it.
All right. So all in all, a good trip.
All in all, a good trip.
Disney maintaining the standard of experience that you're used to.
Yep. And this was a milestone trip in the Leonard family. And this is our last trip of 3.
All right.
So.
All right. So what are you telling us?
Yeah.
Is it mine? How about crowd levels? Did you notice?
So like we've talked about. The problem is, I would say we ignore crowd levels. I wish they'd bring the Fast Pass back because the way that we Disney is, because we have the annual passes, because we go enough, I'll go online, I'll make my 3 Fast Passes. We'll go in, we'll hit those 3 attractions. We'll see if anything's open that we like. If not, we go back to the room.
Right.
We go somewhere else. We go to a different park.
Right.
And we hop in and out of the parks a lot.
And that's part of the beauty of being an annual pass holder is, maybe you go just to see something new, something that's been updated. You don't feel that need to be in a park all the time.
Correct. And you don't feel the need to do everything. If we're walking by and you're like, wow, I really want to go on Soarin' right now, and you walk by and there's an hour and a half wait, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to find a Fast Pass. So it's just, it kind of, for us, it's been a little bit difficult because it's, you're waiting in the regular lines. We're used to the Fast Passes of just making a Fast Pass, wandering the park till our Fast Pass time and then going back. And, who knows? We don't know what the future of the Fast Pass system is.
The latest rumor is that when Disney debuts their Disney Genie application, that Fast Passes will be coming back with that.
So that was it. But again, overall, a good trip. Crowd levels were it was hot. Obviously, it's Florida in August. And, and the crowd levels it was definitely crowded, but I thought they were moving the crowd very well.
Excellent. So good. Glad you had a good time. Yep. When's the next trip?
Currently May.
May.
So we're obviously taking a little bit of a break.
May and then July.
Yeah. Roughly May, July, and August.
Excellent. Knock them all out.
That's it.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the recap of Dave's trip. And until next time, I'm Tony.
I'm David.
And we're 2 dudes talking Disney.